Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. I want to start today with something simple, something so ordinary you might not give it a second thought. Mucus. If you're over 60, you probably know what I'm talking about. That sticky feeling in your throat when you first wake up. The cough that lingers after a cold, long after you think you should be better. The constant need to clear your throat at the dinner table. Some of you may even feel a kind of heaviness in your chest at night, as though you're carrying an invisible weight that no one else can see. Most of us shrug this off. We say, it's just allergies, or it's just part of getting older. Some people blame the weather. Others assume it's harmless, but here's the truth. After 60, mucus changes. It's no longer just an occasional annoyance. It can be a signal of lung health. And when mucus problems disrupt sleep or breathing, they can indirectly affect overall health, including mood and memory. Persistent daily phlegm with chronic cough can signal chronic airway disease like chronic bronchitis or bronchiectasis. In COPD, this mucus buildup is linked to faster decline in lung function. If mucus is a daily issue, get evaluated rather than relying on home care alone. People don't notice until their breath has already weakened, and that's why tonight's episode is so important. We're not here to talk about mucus as a nuisance. We're here to understand it as a messenger. Because the sooner you learn to read it, the sooner your body can heal. Now, I can't explore this topic alone. As always, I'm joined by my dear colleague, someone who has devoted his life to understanding aging and longevity. He is a physician, a teacher, and a man whose presence itself feels like medicine. At 84 years old, he continues to guide patients and students with wisdom that bridges East and West. Please welcome once again, Dr. Hinohara.
Thank you, John. It is good to be here, and it is good to speak of this. In Chinese, we say, when the river is clear, the fish swim free. When it is clogged, even the strongest fish struggle. Mucus is like that. It is the river of the lungs. When it flows, we are protected. When it stagnates, we are burdened.
That's such a powerful image. A river that can protect or trap. And I think many of our listeners will recognize themselves in that description. But let me ask you this directly. If mucus is supposed to be protective, the body's first line of defense, why do so many people, especially after 60, find themselves suffering from it instead of being helped by it?
Because they confuse discomfort with danger. In its first form, mucus is not the enemy. It traps dust, smoke, bacteria, and allergens. It keeps the lungs clean. But with age, the machinery of the body changes. The diaphragm grows weaker, so the breath does not reach the belly. The tiny cilia in the airways, those hair-like sweepers that move mucus upward, begin to slow down. What was once a moving stream becomes a still pond. When this happens, mucus no longer clears. It sits, it thickens, it ferments. And then, what was once a protector becomes a burden.
So it isn't that the body is producing too much mucus. It's that the body can't clear it anymore.
Exactly. In traditional Chinese medicine, we describe this as phlegm dampness. The body generates fluids, but it fails to transform and move them. In Western medicine, you call this impaired clearance. Different words, the same reality. Stagnation.
And that stagnation has consequences. We've seen it in research. Chronic mucus can worsen sleep quality, and in conditions like COPD or sleep-disordered breathing, it may contribute to low oxygen levels at night and raise the risk of memory or concentration problems. It's not just the lungs that suffer, it's the whole body.
Yes, John, because the lungs are not separate from the rest of the body. They are the bellows of life. When they are clogged, circulation slows, digestion weakens, even the mind becomes foggy. That is why I tell my patients, never ignore mucus after 60. It is not just a symptom, it is a message.
That's why we're here today, not to silence the message, but to learn to read it. So, Dr. Hinohara, let's go deeper. If mucus is a messenger, what exactly is it trying to tell us as we age?
It is telling us something is stuck. Sometimes it is the breath. Sometimes it is digestion, sometimes it is emotion, but always mucus means the body is carrying more than it can release. And if you do not listen to that message, the body slows down in ways you may not notice until it is too late.
So, Dr. Hinohara, you've painted a picture of mucus as a messenger. Not always bad, but not something to ignore either. Let's step into the science for a moment. From a Western perspective, we know that as people age, lung function naturally declines. The muscles weaken, the chest wall stiffens, and the airways don't clear themselves as efficiently. But what do you see in your patients? How does this decline show up day to day?
Ah, John, it shows up quietly. Most seniors do not say, "My lungs are weak." They say, "I feel heavy in the morning," or "I cannot laugh without coughing," or sometimes, "I wake in the night because something is stuck in my throat." It begins as a whisper, and because it does not shout, they dismiss it. But over time, these whispers grow. One of my patients once said, "Doctor, I feel like I am breathing through cotton." That is how it begins, not with pain, but with a sense of being muffled, covered, weighed down.
That resonates. I've had patients describe something similar. Not shortness of breath exactly, but a constant sense of being blocked, almost like their airways were never fully open.
Yes, this is the pond we spoke of earlier. When the water does not move, it grows heavy, and the body too grows heavy.
From a Western standpoint, I'd call that impaired mucociliary clearance. The cilia, those tiny brushes in the lungs, slow down with age. They don't sweep mucus upward like they used to, but I love how you describe it as a pond versus a stream. It makes sense both physiologically and poetically.
And remember, the lungs are deeply connected to emotion. In Chinese medicine, we say the lungs hold grief. So when a person is heavy with old sadness, the breath becomes shallow and the mucus sits. That is why many times when people release a deep sigh or finally cry, their chest clears afterward.
That's fascinating because in Western research, we actually see that stress and low mood can worsen respiratory symptoms by changing inflammation and the body's stress hormones, which may make mucus problems feel worse. Cortisol and adrenaline change the way the body manages inflammation. So again, different language, same truth.
Yes, John, East and West are not enemies. They are two eyes looking at the same body.
Let's pivot here, because I know many people listening will be wondering, okay, maybe I have mucus. Maybe it is a sign, but what am I doing that makes it worse? Let's go through the common mistakes. Not just two or three, but really break them down.
Good, because mistakes are teachers, if we can see them clearly.
Mistake number one, overusing medications. Regular use of cough suppressants isn't recommended when you have a lot of mucus because they can reduce your ability to clear it. They should only be used short-term if a doctor advises.
Yes. Suppressing a cough is like locking the door when the house is full of smoke. The problem is still inside, only now it has no escape. Medicines are not bad, but they must be used with wisdom. Too often they are used with impatience.
Beautifully put. Mistake number two, diet. I see so many older adults who think they're eating clean. Smoothies, yogurt, salads, iced lemon water. All wonderful for some people, but for someone over 60, it can actually slow digestion and worsen mucus.
Exactly. In Chinese medicine, we speak of the digestive fire. After 60, this fire naturally cools. Some people find cold or raw foods make their throat feel more coated with mucus. Evidence is mixed, so if you notice this personally, choose warmer, easier to digest foods.
Mistake number three, shallow breathing. Many seniors are physically active. They walk daily, they garden, they climb stairs, but they breathe only with the upper chest, not the belly.
Yes, John. They move the body, but not the breath. The diaphragm is the great bellows of life. When it weakens, the lungs no longer expand, and mucus has no reason to move.
Mistake number four, ignoring posture. Seniors often sit long hours in recliners or beds with their chest collapsed forward. That posture compresses the lungs and makes drainage nearly impossible.
Correct. The body is shaped like a vessel. When the vessel is bent, the river cannot flow. I have had patients who ate well and exercised, but spent their evenings slouched in a chair. Their mucus never cleared. The moment they changed posture, their lungs began to open again.
Mistake number 5, dairy overload. I don't want to demonize milk or cheese, but I've seen many older adults increase their dairy intake for calcium or protein. Yet then they complain of chronic phlegm.
Yes, John. In moderation, dairy can nourish, but dairy doesn't increase mucus for most people. But some people feel it makes their throat phlegm thicker. If you notice that personally, try reducing dairy and see if it helps. The same can happen inside.
Mistake number 6, ignoring hydration rhythm. Seniors may drink water only when they feel thirsty, often late at night. But by then, the mucus has already thickened.
Yes, the body needs steady streams, not sudden floods. Small sips through the day, warm if possible, help the mucus remain light and easy to move. Waiting until you are parched is too late.
So to recap, the 6 big mistakes we see are overusing suppressive medications, relying on cold raw foods that weaken digestion, breathing shallowly and neglecting the diaphragm, sitting in collapsed postures for hours, overloading on dairy when digestion can't handle it, drinking water irregularly instead of in steady rhythm.
Yes, John. Each of these mistakes seems small, but together they create a climate where mucus thrives.
And I think the real shift here is that mucus isn't just a lung issue, it's a whole body issue. Diet, posture, stress, even emotions all play a role.
Exactly. That is why treating it requires more than a pill. It requires listening to the body in many ways.
So far, we've laid out the problem. Mucus after 60 isn't just a nuisance, it's a messenger. And we've walked through the most common mistakes people make. But here's where I want us to turn the corner. Dr. Hinohara, if someone listening right now is struggling with mucus every day, what can they actually do to help themselves? Gently, safely, naturally?
John, the first thing I tell my patients is this. The body already knows how to clear. Our job is not to force, but to remind. There are many ways to do this, through food, posture, breath, and gentle movement. Let us begin with the simplest from the kitchen. I call it the lung pump tea. It is not sold in stores and it is not complicated. Fresh ginger, squeezed lemon, a pinch of black pepper, and raw honey stirred into hot water. Not boiled, just infused.
That sounds comforting already. But how exactly does it work?
Each ingredient is a messenger. Ginger warms and thins the mucus. Black pepper may improve circulation and absorption of other compounds, but evidence that it directly opens airways in humans is limited. Lemon cuts heaviness, bringing lightness to the chest. Honey soothes the throat while calming inflammation. When taken together, they whisper to the lungs, "It is safe now. You may let go."
From the Western side, I see the parallels. Ginger contains compounds like gingerol that reduce airway inflammation. Black pepper improves blood flow and even enhances absorption of other compounds. Lemon juice provides acidity, which can thin mucus slightly. And honey, there are clinical studies showing its antimicrobial and soothing effects on the throat.
Yes, the bridge is strong here. The tea is not just chemistry, though. It is ritual. You must sip it slowly, inhale the steam, feel the warmth enter the chest. If you drink it distracted, as if it were just water, the effect is less. Healing responds to presence.
That's an important reminder. The ritual itself matters. What's another method you find powerful?
Postural drainage. Very simple, yet rarely used outside hospitals. You lie at an angle, face down, with hips slightly elevated, so gravity helps mucus move upward and outward. Just 5 minutes like this each day can change how the lungs feel.
That's incredible. And you're right. In pulmonary rehab programs here in the West, we sometimes teach these positions to patients with chronic lung disease. But I don't think many seniors know they can do this at home.
Yes. Even in my clinic, patients are surprised. They think medicine must be complex, but sometimes it is simply gravity. A patient once told me, "Doctor, I thought my lungs were failing," but really they just needed space to drain.
That's powerful, and physiologically, it makes perfect sense. Gravity helps shift mucus from the lower lobes, where it tends to pool, up toward the larger airways, where it can be coughed out.
Exactly. And when combined with warmth, a hot compress on the back, or gentle breathing while in this position, the effect doubles.
And if someone doesn't want to lie down, is there a way to clear the lungs while upright?
Yes, controlled vibration, rhythmic tapping on the chest or back with cupped hands. In China and Japan, caregivers are trained in this. It loosens stagnant mucus so it can rise. Even self-tapping, done while leaning forward, can make the breath feel lighter within minutes.
That's fascinating because in Western medicine, we call this chest percussion. It's used in hospitals for patients with pneumonia or cystic fibrosis. But you're saying it can also be gentle home care for seniors?
Yes, John. And it is not just mechanical. The touch itself tells the nervous system, you are supported. When the body feels safe, the lungs release more easily. I have seen patients cough freely for the first time in days after such care. And always they look relieved, not strained.
So it's both physiological and emotional. Safe touch lowers stress, engages the vagus nerve, and lets the body enter a healing state.
Exactly. Healing is never only of the body.
I remember you once mentioned an unusual remedy involving onion. Can you share that again?
Ah, yes. A teaspoon of onion juice mixed with lemon and honey. Onion contains compounds with anti-inflammatory properties. Some people find onion remedies soothing, but solid human evidence that onion directly breaks down mucus is limited. It contains sulfur compounds and quercetin that calm inflammation. Lemon adds cleansing and honey soothes. Seniors in my village often take this before bed, and by morning their throat feels lighter.
That's remarkable. And Western research supports it. Onion compounds really do have anti-inflammatory and mucus-thinning properties. We just don't often see it recommended in clinical practice.
Because modern medicine seeks strong weapons, but sometimes the gentlest foods are the best medicine.
What about movement? Beyond posture, is there a way to use exercise itself?
Yes, chest opening movements, stretching the rib cage, lifting the sternum, twisting the spine gently. These massage the lungs from the outside and activate lymphatic flow. Seniors who practice just 5 minutes of this daily often report clearer breathing and stronger voices.
That reminds me of Tai Chi or Qigong. Slow, deliberate movements that emphasize expansion rather than speed.
Exactly. These traditions are not just art, they are physiology in motion. They remind the lungs to open. The body does not want to grow stagnant. It only needs to be invited back into movement.
And from the Western side, we know stretching and twisting the chest wall improves rib mobility, diaphragm strength, and even lymph drainage, and which all contribute to mucus clearance. Again, two languages describing the same truth. So to summarize, the 5 solutions are lung pump tea, ginger, lemon, pepper, honey, postural drainage, using gravity to shift mucus, controlled vibration, tapping the chest or back, onion lemon honey remedy, a natural mucolytic, chest opening movements to massage and expand the lungs.
Yes, none of these are extreme. They are gentle signals to remind the body of its own intelligence. And the key is rhythm, doing them daily, not only when suffering. That is how the lungs regain their memory of freedom.
Dr. Hinohara, your solutions are beautiful because they're simple and grounded. But I know what really moves people is hearing a real story. Could you share one? A patient whose life was changed by following these principles?
Yes, John. Let me tell you about Mrs. Zhao. She was 78 when her daughter brought her to me. A soft-spoken woman, proud and private. For years she lived with constant phlegm. Every morning she would rise at dawn, but instead of greeting the sun, she greeted the basin, spitting and coughing until her chest burned. She told me, "Doctor, I feel ashamed. My grandchildren laugh at how I clear my throat during meals. My daughter worries when I cough at night. I do not want to be a burden." Her doctors had given her nasal sprays and lozenges. They helped for a while, but always the mucus returned. When I examined her, I noticed three things. First, her posture, always slouched forward, shoulders curled. Second, her diet. Cold soy milk for breakfast, raw cucumber at lunch, iced tea in the evening. Third, her breath, shallow, trapped in her chest. I told her, "Your lungs are not sick. They are simply lonely. They need warmth, movement, and rhythm." So we began small. Warm rice porridge in the morning instead of cold soy milk. A cup of lung pump tea after breakfast. 5 minutes of postural drainage before bed. Her daughter helped with gentle tapping on her back in the evenings. And I asked her to stand by the window each morning, lift her arms slowly to the sky, breathe into her belly, and smile toward the sun. At first, she laughed at me. "Doctor, you make me sound like a child." I said, "Yes, and children know how to breathe better than adults." Within 1 week, her mornings changed. The basin that once filled with phlegm remained mostly empty. Within 1 month, she could sleep through the night without waking to cough. Her daughter told me, "Father, I hear my mother singing again while she cooks." And I will never forget what Mrs. Zhao said on her last visit. "Doctor, I thought old age meant fading, but it was only mucus holding me down. You showed me that my body still remembers how to be light."
That is extraordinary. And it shows that sometimes what feels like decline is really just blockage. Not the end of capacity, but the silence of it.
Yes, John. Many elders believe they are broken. In truth, they are often only blocked.
So for everyone listening right now, let's give them something practical. If you're at home and struggling with mucus, here's what you can begin this very week. Start your morning with warmth. A bowl of hot soup, rice porridge, or tea. Avoid cold drinks on an empty stomach. Practice belly breathing. Sit tall, place one hand on your abdomen, inhale slowly until the hand rises. Do this for 5 breaths, 3 times a day. Try postural drainage. Lie face down with hips slightly raised for 5 minutes, especially before bed. Use gentle vibration. Tap lightly on the chest or back to loosen mucus. If you live with someone, ask for their help. This becomes care as well as therapy. Add movement. Stretch the arms wide, lift the chest, twist gently. Even 2 minutes a day invites the lungs to expand. Try the teas and remedies. Ginger, lemon, pepper, honey in the morning, or onion, lemon, honey at night if mucus feels heavy.
And do not forget the rhythm. Morning and evening are the most important times. Sip slowly. Breathe with attention. The ritual is as healing as the ingredients.
I like that. Healing comes from rhythm, not from intensity.
Yes, I tell my patients, 5 minutes daily for 1 month is stronger than 1 hour once a week. The body learns from repetition.
Dr. Hinohara, thank you. Today we've seen that mucus is not just a nuisance, it's a signal. It can reveal the state of our lungs, our digestion, even our emotions. And with the right daily care, it can clear, leaving the body lighter and stronger.
Yes, John. In Chinese we say, "Clear waters reflect the sky." When the lungs are clear, the spirit also shines.
That's beautiful. To our listeners, try these small steps for 7 days. Notice how your mornings feel, how your breath changes, how your voice clears, and let us know your experience.
The body waits patiently for your attention. When you give it, it responds quickly. Remember Mrs. Zhao. What felt like fading was only a blockage. Your own body may be waiting for the same release.
Thank you, Dr. Hinohara, and thank you to all of you for joining us. This has been the Senior Health Podcast. Until next time, stay warm, stay present, and keep breathing deeply.